Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today TV, and I have Justin, the Viking Wren, with me. If you're, tell me what it is.
MMA. Mixed martial arts.
Okay, I don't know these things, obviously.
It's okay.
If you're an MMA fan, then you know this guy. Justin, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
How in the world do you even get into the cage fighting?
Man, it was a childhood dream. And
Really?
Yeah, I just wanted to do it. Most people in this Metroplex, DFW, want to be a Dallas Cowboy or a Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a UFC fighter.
But okay, it's violent. Did you just say, man, I just want to beat the crap out of people for fun?
No, that was part of it, but not the main thing. To me, it looked like a human chess match. That's what I saw it as, because it combines 4 different sports that are highly disciplined. I mean, martial arts, wrestling is in the Olympics, boxing is in the Olympics. It's also a pro sport, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing, and you combine them all in the same thing. And so I was captivated by that, and I wanted to do that. So,
how long did you have to train before you kind of broke through?
Well, I'm a little different I had a little different path than most. I started wrestling at 15, which is the best base for fighting. You can keep it on your feet if you want to stay standing, or you can take it to the ground. And I was an accomplished wrestler where I had won 2 national championships in wrestling and lived at the Olympic Training Center. And so I transitioned very quickly. I made my pro debut at 19 years old. And heavyweights, the youngest guy I've ever fought was 28. And so it's an older guy thing, but somehow I got in there.
Wow. Well, what's your worst experience in MMA?
Worst experience? A fight I won. It was one of my fights as a Christian, one of the 2, and so far, and had in the first 10, 12 seconds of the fight, a herniated 2 disc in my back. Then after that, we were back in his world, took it to the ground. Then all of a sudden I couldn't hold him on the ground anymore. So we went back to standing, and then that was his world, his game plan.
Yeah.
I had to fight at his strength, and then I took 2 groin shots. Which
That's
were
not legal, though.
No, they're not
Okay.
legal. But he snuck one in there, and then he got caught for the other, and they penalized him. And then after that, he gave an illegal headbutt and split me over the eye. And then I still won, but took him down. Ended up putting a choke in real quick, but it was the toughest fight.
Yeah, all right. I'll leave that to guys like you. Now let's talk about something I can appreciate.
Yeah.
How'd you come to Christ?
Oh man, it was an incredible experience. It was 3 years, 9 days ago.
You weren't raised in the church.
No.
So this is.
I have parents that had grew up kind of Christian, and then
Kind of Christian.
That's
like kind of pregnant, right? You either are or you're not.
Yeah. So no, not really. My family experience. I didn't talk about this on the show, but I grew up in a family that we had experience as a family, just some real religious stuff that was jacked up, really legalistic, but then like some things that it was church hurts, and so my parents left, and I never really wanted to be a part of it. I saw a lot of stuff from super legalistic to over-the-top charismatic, to where at 13 years old I went to a youth camp, and I came back with bruises on my neck because they tried to cast demons out of me.
Seriously?
Yeah. And then the other church said that that was because I wasn't drunk in the spirit, and the other one said, the legalistic said, if you ever had alcohol, you go to hell. Right. So I'm thinking, like, these are 2 contradictory things. Then I went to Catholic school and experienced, like, you kind of do what you want as long as you give him the props. And
so
just
hang on. So you go to what was the legalistic? Was it Baptist like mine?
It was no instruments in the music.
Okay, so Church of Christ.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it was.
But you hang on. So you went to a Church of Christ, and you went to a charismatic church.
Yeah.
You went to a Catholic church, and you still don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
No.
How is that? That shouldn't be possible. You shouldn't be able to go to, especially multiple churches, and not know the person who is the focus of the church. Is that just a comment on religion?
Yeah. Well, personally, and I'm not saying it about this or that or whichever whole denomination that I went to.
I get that. I know.
But the things I experienced isn't the Jesus I know.
Yeah.
And he wasn't loving. And I felt like he hated me. And then I also thought, like, I wasn't good enough, and I would never be good enough, and And I
You won't.
honestly felt worthless.
You
Yeah.
won't. You'll never
Yeah.
be good enough.
Yeah, well, that's
the
true.
truth.
But now I can accept that. Now I know, hey, I don't have to be good enough because he is.
Right. There
Right.
you go.
And it's
There
not
you
about
go.
what I do or didn't do. It's about what he did and what he's going to continue to do.
Now,
That's
I
what
asked
changed
that. I
everything.
asked that for a reason, because I'm not just trying to be down on Church
Yeah.
of Christ or charismatic, but there are people who are watching right now who have been through the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they've rejected Christ or God
Yeah.
because of churches. And I'm pointing that out because
Yeah.
you've lived the fact that they're different.
Oh, yeah.
Going to church doesn't make you a Christian.
Oh, no way.
It doesn't give you a relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
It should. It should lead you there, but it doesn't always, because
Yeah.
people get involved.
Right.
And people are jacked up, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up because
Yeah.
you've experienced something completely different. How would you characterize your relationship with Christ now as compared to with what you thought Christianity was back then?
Yeah, I thought it was a bunch of rules and regulations and restrictions and rituals, and that it was repulsive to me. But now I see how relational it is, and how sweet it is, and how tender God loves us, but how radically He loves us, and it absolutely transformed me. And this is what happened. I didn't get to say it, but I literally had to readjust my eyes from the people of God to the God of the people. And whenever I got my eyes off of everyone who said, I know God best, or I know God better, and they don't do it right, and these people don't do it right, and only us are going to heaven, and they're not, and they're all sinners, and they're going to burn. And when I got my eyes off of those people and got my eye onto the God of those people, He's still their God. He still loves the mess out of them.
Right.
Whenever I got my eyes on Him, He got to love the mess out of me.
Yeah.
And I say it, and hopefully I can say it, but in the prisons and prison ministry, I get to tell the guys, dude, He just came and loved the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Like in the most real, pure, way.
Right.
Like I was a drug addict. I was depressed. I attempted to take my own life. And I'm still here because He came and He rescued me. I tapped out to the ultimate fighter. And He won the greatest victory that I've ever experienced. And I didn't win it. He won it for me. And all I did was accept it. And He graciously gave it to me. And He lavished that love on me.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Now you mentioned drugs.
Yeah.
How did that break?
Broke out a men's retreat called Quest. And it's an organization called Fellowship of the Sword. But I felt like I got suckered into it because my favorite quote was from Gandhi, which was I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ.
Yeah.
And I told the guy that, man, I'm not going to go sing Kumbaya and sit around a campfire and hold hands with a bunch of sissies. And I was like, I need something real. And whenever I got to that place, I experienced the real deal, and it was authentic. And people, I think all people, because God puts it inside of us, to know when love is real, to know when love is His, I think would be better how to say it. And that's what I experienced. I didn't experience a manufactured love. I didn't experience a man-made love. I experienced a love that could only come from above, and it. I gave my life to Christ with drugs in my pocket, and
Did you?
Handed them over.
And He accepted
what
you.
do I do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what was so good, was that I felt like my whole life I had to clean myself up.
Right.
And that all the problems I got in, I had to fight and claw and tooth and nail, and I felt like I was in there with the demons or the devil himself, and I was fighting in a cage fight that I was getting brutalized in, because life's more of a fight than any cage fight. And the wounds you can hide, and they take a lot longer to heal. And He came and He knocked them out for me and showed me He already did it, and I just had to open my eyes to it, and it was good.
That is very cool. So let's jump forward a little
Yeah.
bit. Your life has changed. You're still fighting some, couple fights anyway. Then you go overseas. How did you land in the Congo?
That is an awesome story. I'll try to break it down into bite-sized pieces, but I was praying about a fight that was in Tokyo, Japan. Number 2 on my goals list as a 15-year-old was to to fight in the UFC. Number one was to fight in the Saitama Super Arena in Tokyo, Japan.
Wow.
And I got that offer just thrown in my lap after a year of being a Christian. And then I was like, oh God, you're so good. Psalm 37:4, you'll give me the desires of my heart. And when I delight myself in you. And then I was convicted, like I didn't even pray about it. And convicted in the most loving, tender way of like, you gonna ask me about this? And I was like, oh yeah. And so I started praying, and was at this little prayer group, and he said, why don't we go get off by ourselves? And we're going to do something. Now we put some language to it where we're going to go ask and listen. Most people ask, and they might say they don't hear from God because they never get around to listening. Right. Or sometimes people are listening, but then they don't get they're only listening to what they're asking for. Right. And then you miss them too. And but I just asked, God, what do you want me to do? Let me take this fight. And really, I just wanted to hear about that. And I can't tell you how real it was to me, but it was almost like whenever the Olympic Training Center, the sports psychologist would walk us through a visualization drill. You're in the match, you slap hands, you come out, and now you're wrestling. What's the move you go to? What's this? And I would see it in my mind a million times before I ever got on the mat. Mm-hmm. Same thing with a fight. But I had that happen to me effortlessly. And I had a vision of me in the Congo, but I didn't know it was the Congo. I just knew I was in Africa, but I was in the jungle. And I wasn't very caught up on Africa. I was like, there's jungles? I thought it was like deserty and stuff like that. And, but I was with these people that were small, and I was with these people that were hurting, and I was with these people that were dying. And I just knew that they were so unloved. And that's how they felt. They felt unloved. They felt untouchable. They were slaves. And the thing that broke my heart, I had my Bible in front of me, and I left a puddle of tears this big. And I've never cried like that in my life. This was how real it was to me. I knew that they felt forgotten by God. And I knew that wasn't his heart, and that he wanted to love them. And then 2 weeks later, I went with a friend, and he felt the same thing. And I didn't even know this at the time, he had already booked tickets to go for him. He was going to go by himself to the Congo, which was like a conflict zone at that time. Yeah. Right. And then I told him what I was feeling. He's like, dude, I'm already doing it. And then I went with him there, and we just saw God do some crazy cool stuff.
And then these people you saw in your vision turned out to be?
Oh, bro, exactly. The Mabuti Pygmies, exactly like the vision. And we started asking their beliefs, and they literally told us their creation story. And their creation story was that if you boil it all down, it's a lot of different stuff, but God forgot about us. The people around them call them the forest people. They call themselves the forgotten people.
Forgotten people.
And so that's when God spoke to me and said, you're going to go from fighting against people to fighting for people, and you're going to fight for the forgotten.
Nice. What do they call you?
My pygmy name was given to me by Jeluwa, my grandpa, who's also the chief in the tribe. And my mom's tribe was Siku, and my brother's Baiwanja, and I am Efeosa.
Which means?
Which means the man who loves us.
The man who loves us.
Yeah, and what's so rad is I get to go there and point them. Hopefully I just reflect. That's all. I was like, God, let them know that you love them, that you're a God of love, and they are not unloved, and they are not forgotten. And then they gave me that name, and again, I cried like a little baby.
Yeah.
And but yeah, just to go there and be a physical Efeosa that will show them the spiritual Efeosa, the man who loves them, and will set them free.
Yeah, I guess the parable about the one lost sheep, or that coin that was lost, that Jesus talked about going and finding, leaving everything else to go find that one that's lost, that's to let them know they're not forgotten. You're living that out.
Man.
Yeah.
He did it. He did it for me, man. He left. He came after the one. I was surrounded by a bunch of Christian dudes, and he came after me, and I wanted nothing to do with these guys. And he came after me, and yeah, that's what he's done. He's now pulled me out of my mess. And not that I don't have problems, but he's sending me to where I see the biggest mess in the world. When I look at it, where they're slaves, they're cannibalized, they work for 2 minnows a day. Like they'll work 10 to 12 elderly man. I have a picture of him. His name's Harry. He's the only one with facial hair. He has just a little bit, but he's a buddy of mine. His wife was at home sick. He's elderly. Wife was at home sick. He had to work 10 to 12 hours in the fields. Got paid 2 minnows. He could go split that with his wife.
Literally minnows?
I'm talking fish bait.
Wow.
The size of my pinky. And that was his pay, his slave pay. And he had to split that with his wife, because you don't work, you don't eat. And so, but we're working now, and I've seen 60, with my own eyes, 60 slaves set free, men, women, and children, put on their own land, 30 acres of land, got an agriculturalist, got a school being built now. Since I've been gone, the oldest Bible college in Congo, I've partnered with them. That's who I went with. They've been working on it for 8 years. It was just a whole godsend. I had the burden, then there's people already doing it there. And yeah, they've done twice as much as since I've been back, and now it's 120 slaves set free on 60 acres, and our plan is hopefully in the year I'm there to see 1,000 slaves set free, hopefully.
That's amazing.
That's our prayer.
I mean, that's amazing. Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Contrast your life, your emotional state, your mental state, your vision for your own life, your sense of self-worth, all those things back when you were successfully fighting but addicted to drugs, versus now where your focus has totally changed.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, before Christ and after Christ. What's the difference in Justin?
Yeah, man, I don't recognize myself. I don't recognize myself when I go back and watch fights, when I go watch interviews. Other people, like my girlfriend, she didn't know what fighting was when we first started dating, and I believe she's.
But just get married, you'll figure that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, that's good. But she's like, you did what? And nobody believes that I do this because, man, before Christ, I was just utterly hopeless, man. I was in a dark, dangerous place. I hated myself. I hurt everyone around me. I got paid to hurt people. But I also got paid to do what I loved to do. I mean, who can ask for more than getting paid to do what they love to do? Like, I would have fought for free because I loved the sport that much.
Right.
But, like, it wasn't fulfilling. Like, it just is so backwards because I was up here in the world's eyes. But I was so empty and so heartbroken and so unfulfilled, where I hated myself.
Wow.
If I hated anyone, it was me. And I hated me absolutely the most. And I mean, a pure hatred towards myself because something wasn't right and everything should have been right. And now, bro, I don't get paid to do what I love to do, but I love to do it, and I'll always do it because it's not for me, it's for the Lord, and it's for them. And I just love that he actually, I'm like, I get to do this. Like, I get to love him, and I get to love these people. And they love me back, and like, that's why we're family. And I don't know, but it's
That's great.
It's night and day difference.
Yeah.
The biggest 180 I could ever have dreamed of.
You are living a legit Christian life.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
God spoke something to me recently, and it was that if I live to love, I'll love to live. If I just
great.
live to love him, and I let him love me, then I'll know how to love myself, and then I can love others.
Yeah.
Love others radically, and which is ultimately biblically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dude, you're not going to ask, so I'm going to ask for you.
Okay.
But you're doing a lot of stuff overseas, obviously, and you're not getting paid to do it, right? If people want to support you, is there a place they can go give
Yeah.
to help you?
Yeah.
Because I want to ask them to give to help you.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's called fightfortheforgotten.com.
Okay.
That's the ministry. That's what God spoke to me while I was there, was fight for the forgotten. So just put a little .com after that. And yeah, we've already raised the funds for me to go for the year, which would be, we will see 1,000 slaves set free and put on 300 acres of land and have a water well there. But I really believe God.
There's more to do than that.
There's so much more, man. There's so much more. And I think that we really want to get a university research center on 1,200 acres of land, because then we could support with the food and the crops and the water and the school. We could support 3,000 to 5,000 former slaves on it. And the university there is a place of peace. They've negotiated peace treaties among rebels, all sorts of stuff. And they're part of the tribe that's even been slave masters. And they're teaching the slave masters, no, this isn't okay. And it's been an 8-year process, and they trust them.
Wow.
So I'm the only white dude there. We go all through the local people. We bypass the high up corrupt, because then it never really trickles down to the real people.
Smart.
We go straight to the people who need it most at the ground floor, the bottom floor, flip that thing upside down, and it affects all the levels above.
You got it figured out.
I mean,
Yeah.
God did.
Yeah.
He just kind of gave me a glimpse.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Go help him out. And your website, Justin Wren, or what?
My personal website is justinthevikingwren.com.
JustinTheVikingWren.com.
But Fight for the Forgotten is one I'll blog from the Congo.
Okay, and we can follow you for the whole time you're over there.
That's what we're hoping. I have a solar panel company that's sponsor me,
yeah.
but now I need to find internet. So.
Good luck with that. There's not much over there.
Yeah, there's not.
That's awesome.
No.
Check him out. Check out his website. And if you can support it, I mean, if you can support this cause, you're not going to do much better in this world. And I think you know, after watching this, this is the real deal. This is a guy who's just out to love people. So I hope you can help him. But at least thanks for watching him. Thanks for being here. And watch him when he's on Life Today. Justin's on Life Today. That's at lifetoday.org. Dude, appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate your heart.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for spending a few minutes with me up here.